Now, for 16 years, Kyla Hooper had no control over her bladder. She was humiliated and bullied at school, and she was told that the issue was behavioural. It was all attention-seeking, and they even had to remind her to go to the toilet by using an egg timer, like an alarm thing.
But thanks to a drastic surgical procedure, Kyla is now able to empty her bladder via her belly button, and she joins us now along with Dr. Dawn Harper, and we'll discuss the way that works in a moment. Let's just chat about some of the things that we were talking about there in that introduction. Welcome, both of you, by the way. So from 18 months old, when you were born in 1983, your young life was dogged by these UTIs, these urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
And you were a very unhappy child because you're constantly in pain.
That's right.
And so as you got older, how did they show themselves in your life?
It wasn't until I was, well, I had lots of tests and investigations throughout the childhood, but it wasn't actually until my urologist retired when I was 8 years old, and I got a new one from Great Ormond Street, and he came along and got me in theatre, and then he recognised the problems.
So there was an internal plumbing issue which needed to be resolved.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you were considered to be a child who, and as Ruth said in the introduction, that this is a behavioural problem. She's being lazy. When in actual fact you had no control whatsoever. What were your school years like?
Horrific.
Why?
Because of the bullying that went on. I obviously didn't want to socialise. I became very isolated because I just didn't want to.
So as a little girl,
it was constant.
No control over your bladder whatsoever. So it was a constant flow. So you are constantly weeing yourself. So you would leave a puddle on the chair wherever you went. And we talked about this unbelievable decision for a teacher, and I hope now that people will be more sensitive and it wouldn't happen, that the egg timer was put at the front of the class. Explain how that worked.
Yeah, I had an egg timer, and it was set for every 30 minutes, I think it was. And the whole class, I think I was about 6 or 7 at the time, and the whole class would, the last 10 seconds, count down 10, 9, 8, 7, and then as soon as it got to 0, I'd have to run across the corridor, go to the toilet, and then come back. So not only
are you the little girl who wets her pants, are you the little girl who, because of the nature of the fact this is happening all day, smells of wee, but also you're the girl who has the egg timer at the front of the class, and they're timing it down for the next time that you get singled out with the class spotlight.
Not nice for a child.
How do you remember all of that? What are your thoughts of that time?
To be honest, I've got most of my childhood is a block out.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to think of it. Obviously, because of what I'm doing now and today, I have to relive it, which is fine. I'm perfectly happy with it. But yeah, I just try to block it out, really.
Yeah. I'm not surprised you do. So tell us what happens when you eventually got help. So when did they realise, this is not something you could control, it wasn't attention-seeking, it wasn't a behavioural problem. So what was the treatment?
It meant that I had to have major bladder reconstruction. And initially they tried to get me to learn to intermittently self-catheterise via the urethra. But as an 8-year-old, I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Very difficult.
That's a big deal for an adult, for an 8-year-old.
And risk of infection as well, isn't it? If you haven't washed your hands. Or... So once they realised that wasn't going to be good for you, they had to kind of reroute the urinary tract, I gather, didn't they? Can you explain that?
I had the Mitrophanoff procedure done when I was 16 years old in the end. And basically the Mitrophanoff it can either be made from the appendix, if you've still got them, or it can be made from a small piece of the bowel. And it basically, it's to the abdomen, and it goes into the bladder, and my bladder neck was closed.
So we'll come on to in a moment what a difference this has made to your life. But now, on a daily basis, how does it work? What do you have to do?
I don't see it as different. It's me. I just go to the toilet. I empty my bladder every 4 to 6 hours, depending on how much.
So you have to put a tube into your belly button?
Yeah, I intermittently use it through. Mine is through my belly button. Some people have it on the sides of the abdomen. A lot of it is surgeon's preference and our preference.
I think we have got something
here. We would say that, there's not any real great reason to look away, but if you are a bit squeamish about these sort of things, then might be the time to look away, or at least go like that and see how much you want to see. Here we are. So can you just explain what you're doing here for us?
Okay, there I am just putting the catheter in. That's my trophon, and it just goes straight down into the channel. I empty my bladder. I don't see it as any different.
No, of course not. Why should you? But it's also absolutely genius.
Yeah.
It's an incredible way for you to have had your life changed. As I said, we will discuss that. How much of a difference has it made to your life?
Completely. I know it might sound really sad, or you can look at it how you like, but I see it as my life started when I had my operation at 16 years old, because that was a complete change. And I also, you know, because I came out of my education life, I went into my working life, everything was completely different. I came away from what I knew. So
well, I can totally understand that, because you know, just with your own kids, you know, if they have a little accident and they're mortified, aren't they? They wet the bed. So for you to have to go through that, and also for people not to believe that it was something you couldn't control. I know Kyla's situation it's a very extreme case of incontinence because there's something physically wrong. But for a lot of women watching, particularly as you get older and when you've had children, incontinence is a problem, and it's something that we don't really like to talk about very much. But you've brought some products with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are literally millions of people. It's estimated there are about 5 million people in the UK who suffer with continence problems. I can tell you for nothing that will be a gross underestimate.
Men and women.
Yes, but that's the people that we know about.
Yeah.
It is more of a problem for women generally, as you've just said, after childbirth. Our pelvic floor gets a bit weaker, and it is really important that women particularly, take pelvic floor exercises seriously and do them as a matter of course through pregnancy and after they've had a baby. For some women, actually, they can't necessarily do those exercises. The muscles have become so weak that they've lost the sensation, they're not quite sure. And there are a whole host of different products. We've just got some here, and I know we're going to put the details of them on the website, that will just help women to retrain their pelvic floor.
So you're saying this is something that you shouldn't be putting up with? If someone watching, there are things you can
Ruth,
do.
I would, absolutely I would. And it's interesting, I've been a GP for many years with a particular interest in women's health, and I can probably count on the fingers of one hand the number of times people come in and actually say, this is my problem. It's the real hand on the door handle, just leaving the consulting room. Actually, there's another issue. And I would say, please don't be embarrassed. I've got some little booklets here. There's a website that's linked to this morning's website, which is just bladderproblem.co.uk, and you can get these booklets, download them, you can order them for free. And actually they're quite useful. They've got things like bladder diaries where you can just document what is happening to you, and I think it's quite nice because it's a sort of almost a green ticket to go into your GP and say that this is the problem, and it's a good opener.
And thanks to people like Kyla, to the fact that you talk about it,
so
you're so young, so beautiful, had that horrible time, and that you sit and talk about it will make people realise that, they're not alone, and this can happen to anybody, and it's not something you should be putting up with. Hopefully there wouldn't be as severe as yours, and we're so pleased that life is good for you now.
That's why I went and set up the support group, my trophon support, because I went through surgery 2 years ago as well, and I obviously sought help myself, and there was still nothing out there for fellow my trophon
Well, we'll put the details of your support group on our website as well.
Yeah, and it's helped a lot of people.
Well, you've helped a lot of people today, I'm sure. And Dawn, thank you. And if you would like any more help or advice, information, it's all on our website, as we were saying. We'll put Kyla's support group on there as well. That's itv.com/.
What did you want to say?
Sorry, can I just say, a very good friend of mine is in hospital today, Gobi Ranganathan. He's having his second operation today, so my thoughts are with him.
Absolutely, yeah. Well,
Thank you.
Is that the same operation as you?
He's already got his trophon off, but he's having it redone today.
Okay.
So,
we're all thinking of him. Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
We're back with Benny Dorm, Steve Pemberton, right after the break. Don't go away.